Hey, what's up? This is Seth Green, and you are listening to Somewhere in Vegas with Mark, and I am so hot, I would desperately like a glass of water. Please, please, give me some water.
This is Cindy Preston, and I'm with Mark on Somewhere in Vegas.
Hi, this is Melissa Peterman from CMT's The Singing Bee and the television show Reba. And I have to tell you, I just have to get it off my chest, I love Somewhere in Vegas with Mark.
Hi there. This is Faith Roscoe from General Hospital. You're listening to Mark on Somewhere in Vegas. And you better watch out. We know how to find you if you're not listening.
Hi, this is Shannon Egan from Whippet, and I love Somewhere in Vegas with Mark.
Hey, this is Lee Allen Baker with Somewhere in Vegas, talking with Mark with a Q.
This is Courtney Cronin. You're listening to Somewhere in Vegas with your host, Mark, and I would make sure to listen every week because he's a sure bet.
Hey, this is the Money Man, Eddie Money. I got 2 tickets to Paradise, and it's, you know what? It's Somewhere in Vegas. And what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
Hi, this is Crystal Gale, and I love Somewhere in Vegas with Mark.
Hi, this is Terry Nunn from Berlin, and you're listening to Mark Somewhere in Vegas.
Hi, this is Miracle Laurie from Joss Whedon's Dollhouse. There are 3 flowers in a vase, and I'm listening to Somewhere in Vegas with Mark.
Hi, this is Erin Hill, and you are listening to Mark on Blog Talk Radio and Somewhere in Vegas. Mark is a great guy.
Hi, this is Sean Pulaski. I'm still trying to figure out Mark Pico's sexuality, but I know you're listening to Somewhere Live in Vegas.
Here you go, Mark. I'm sorry. I thought you were she. I'm sorry. Get out of the tent. Let's get out of here.
Hey, this is Lance and Anna from Free Radio. And Anna?
And you're listening to Somewhere in Vegas.
Yes.
My favorite.
You know, that's usually what happens with me. I go to Vegas and I get lost, and so I end up somewhere in Vegas.
Somewhere in Vegas.
But I just don't know where it is.
Not quite sure.
Yeah, word.
Get ready. It's going to be hot. It's in Vegas. Check out Mark. Be there or be square.
My guest at this time is a very, very talented singer, and she's been doing really great. She's had quite a few singles out the past couple of years, but she has a fresh set of 6 new songs coming out throughout 2021. Her current single is Little Things. You guys can check that out as well. We have Pamela Hopkins on with us right now. How you doing, Pamela?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing great. I mean, it seems like you're very busy, especially during what's been, this pandemic and all that as well. How's it been for you to, kind of be, recording and being a songwriter throughout 2020?
Well, I would say obviously without, doing as many gigs as we weren't able to, it allowed me to concentrate more on my writing and getting, fresh new sounds and working with different co-writers and a new producer. That the slowing down has really, helped my creativity. Not so much on the finances because I can't do gigs as much, but, it is what it is. I mean, I probably needed a little bit of a reset, so I just kept on plugging right along.
How's the scene? I mean, before the pandemic, how was the scene out there in Little Rock, Arkansas? It seems like there is somewhat of a little budding community down there. Tell me a little bit about that.
Right, so I'm by trade, I'm a dueling-piano player, so I am kind of like a house player at a local dueling piano bar. It's called Willie D's, and that's where I'm still playing currently. I just play 2 nights a week, but back before the pandemic, we were open 5 nights a week, and some of the restaurants downtown in Little Rock were starting to pick up live music, so my band started playing and things like that, and then the pandemic hit, and of course, we went down to like 1/3 capacity, and then it seems like people are coming out more, and so our club specifically is starting to open up an extra day as they start to, loosen the restrictions. But like I said, when you have lots of live music going on and lots of restaurants picking that up and hiring musicians, and then it just stops, it kind of put a damper in everybody's, forward momentum, I guess. And but I mean, I think it's going to come back pretty strong. Hopefully, everybody will start going out again and start supporting local businesses and supporting local musicians and get the live music.
When did you start playing piano?
So I learned how to play a little bit back in 7th and 8th and 9th grade. I played for 2 years, And about 8.5 years ago, I went into a dueling piano bar, and I was like, I think I could do this, because I already, I've always sung. Played cello since I was in 5th grade, but, gave that up like in my early 20s. But I walked into the piano bar, and I was having such a good time, and I was like, I can so do this. And got talking to one of the piano bar guys that plays. His name's Dave Rosico, and I said, hey, how do I get into this? And he said, do you play piano? I said, well, I haven't played in forever, 20-plus years. And he was like, he said, learn 30 songs and come back and see me. And so, coming from a musical background all my life, I know how to read chords and things like that, on piano charts, but I'm not a great sight reader or to read music. So I had to basically teach myself again how to play, and learned my 30 songs. And 6 months later, I went back and talked to him, and he let me start sitting in. And you just get better and better as you're doing it. So it's a lot of on-the-job training for me at this point. Like when I want to learn new chops on the piano, I basically talk to my other people that I play with, play across from, and I'm like, okay, I heard you do this tonight. How do you do that? And they'll sit down and kind of show you. Then you just sit and work on it. And when it's a passion of yours, they say you never work a day of your life if you follow your dream and your passion. And that's what I'm doing. And so it doesn't seem like work to me, but I had to relearn. It took a while, but I'm doing it. So
yeah. Now, what was the first song of the 30 that you wanted to learn or decided to learn?
So one of the first songs that I learned was Me and Bobby McGee, because it's a 3-chord song. So I tried to go back to my karaoke days, where I was like, okay, what are the popular songs that everybody liked when I would watch karaoke or kind of sing karaoke for fun? And I started looking up, and I just started Googling easy 2-chord, 3-chord songs. And Me and Bobby McGee was one that I knew by heart to sing. So I started working on that one, and then the song Jolene by Dolly Parton was an easy one as well. So just learning those easy songs that I already knew the words to, and then I could already sing without thinking about it, were the songs that I went after to begin with.
What's probably the most requested song that you've had doing piano?
So I would probably say What's Up by 4 Non Blondes. That's one of my favorite ones to do. Also a 3-chord song. That was one of the first ones I learned. And then Zombie, which I actually did a cover of. It's the only cover that I have out there, cover tune I have out there by the Cranberries, because it comes up all the time. Now, of course, we get the, Don't Stop Believin', Sweet Caroline, those kinds of songs as well. But generally when I start singing on stage and people start thinking, oh, she's a female singer, I'm going to give her female songs, it's going to be Zombie. It's going to be, What's Up. It's going to be Proud Mary, Jolene, 9 to 5. I'm getting all the chick songs pretty much. But I can play all the guy songs too.
Yeah, there's there's been there's maybe a good 4 or 5 or maybe even 6 different piano bars on the Strip alone out here in Vegas. So it's it is a huge kind of staple of the Strip. So it's kind of interesting to go in and see these crowded bars where everybody's singing along with the song or whatever. So yeah, it's got to be a pretty interesting experience out there in Arkansas.
Right. I've played at a couple there in Vegas. I've sat in. We've had a dueling piano ladies retreat out there, and I've got up and played at, I guess it's Harrah's Casino maybe, and then Paris. So I've been out there. I've been to the one in New York. Those are fun. You guys have a fun life out there.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, it's a huge staple. So hopefully we can get back to doing that again. Right. Hopefully soon. What kind of got you into wanting to do your own material?
Well, so learning, back in 95, I would say a long time ago, I cut my first album, and it was in Nashville, and I kind of felt like I got burned. And I was like, I don't want to go back to Nashville. I don't want to do that, and I gave it up for a very long time. And I had this burning going into me, about get back in music. And that's when, I started being the dueling piano player. And after a few years of doing that, kind of getting under my belt and being able to interact with the crowd and kind of getting a following, I started wondering, I'm covering everybody else's songs. What do I sound like? What does Pamela sound like? And so I started searching for writers, because at the time I only had one written song. I wasn't great at writing my own material. I just it wasn't something in my wheelhouse at the time. So I got with some writers out of Nashville, and on my first EP that I released in 2018, I have 4 songs that are from other writers in Nashville, and then I cut 2 more singles after that in 2019. One was the song that I wrote called Giving Back to Us. And then once the pandemic hit, I was like, okay, of course, right before that, I was already searching again and looking for co-writers. Because I was like, I want to put out more music. I'm, getting kind of good at this. So I just need to keep on going. And partnered with a couple other co-writers, and we started writing, and then the pandemic hit. I was scheduled to go into the studio probably, I think it was early last March, and then everything shut down. So it delayed it until we kind of opened back up, and I was able to go in May. And I cut my first 4 songs of last year, which was Cracking Up the Crazy, The Me You Could Have Had, which I co-wrote with my producer and his wife, and Chris Mack. Then I cut Little Rock Famous, and it was released in October, and then Somebody Here's Walking was released in December, and then my most current one, which I went back into the studio in October and cut 7 more. So it's almost addictive at this point. I write, and I'm like, oh, I really want to cut that song. And so you save up your money, and then you go back to the studio, and you produce another one, and it's been a lot of fun. But I just needed to know what I sounded like, and I'm not getting any younger, so I was like, it's time. It's time for me.
When you were in Nashville, obviously you were in studio cutting that first album, and then now coming back into the studio. First of all, tell me a little bit about your experiences the first time around, and have you learned kind of a lot from your sessions nowadays when you got back into the studio?
Yeah, so, back in 1994 is when we were working on it, and it released in 1995. But 1994, nothing was digital. Everything was, I guess, what you kind of call like analog, if I'm not getting a correct term. Basically, it was reels of tape. And, you only had so many tracks, and they could punch it back in. Now everything's digital, so you can record as many tracks as you want, and they can cut and paste and all. It kind of makes it a little easier because they can go back. Whereas before, if they punched you in on, say, like you were out of tune on a little part, they go, hey, we got to go back. That wasn't correct. You were flat. You were sharp. Once they punched you in and they recorded over it, that version was gone. Or if you listen to it back and you're like, hey, I think I can do that run on that a little better. If they recorded over it, your first one was gone. So if you didn't get it right again, that was it. You just had to keep doing it over and over again. Whereas now, everything's digital. We use it, Logic, I think it's Logic Pro or Pro Logic. I can't remember the name of it because I don't do that part of it. But when they get in there and you're doing things now, they just put it on a different track. And so they can just have as many as they want and then go and pick the best one later. So it almost makes it a little quicker now to get things recorded because you're not having to go back in and particularly punch in one little spot. You can just record that whole section over, and you haven't lost anything. What I've learned from then to now is, of course, back then I was young, and I just didn't know. I'd never been in the studio before. The sound engineer, my producer, wasn't in there, and that's one of the reasons I did not have a great experience. So I didn't have anybody in there coaching me, like going, hey, I need you to sound, a little more enthusiastic on this part. So I just didn't know. And I can tell you that live performing is different than studio performing. Like when you're in the studio and you're recording, it's so much different than it is when you're live in front of people. And it's harder. It's a much harder animal to try to get your attitude across, or the emotion that you need to try to get through to the recorded sound versus people being able to watch you. And now I have my producer's in there, and he'll stop me and he'll say, hey, I need more feeling in that because I'm not feeling it. I need you to sing a little louder here because or put more breath in this one. And I actually have somebody giving me feedback as I go, and if I'm doing a faster song and they don't feel like I have a lot of attitude in it, they'll be like, hey, we need you to stop. I need you to collect yourself. I need you to dance around in this. I don't know what you're doing, but I need you to dance. I need you to pretend like you got, millions of people in front of you, because I've seen your live performance and I'm listening to what's coming through and I'm not feeling it, So I have somebody kind of coaching me now, where back then I didn't. Put me in front of a live audience and I'm on. In a studio in a box by yourself, it's a little harder. So that's kind of the things that I've learned. I just, things are a lot easier for me now, and I think a lot of it's because I'm older and more experienced, and I kind of know what I want versus back then I didn't know what I was doing at all and had no guidance. So
there is something to be said about an energy of an audience, because you feed off of that, and then the audience, you feed that back to the audience. And being in a studio, you don't get that. You really have to I would say almost fake it till you make it, I guess, would be the best term for it. So, yeah, I understand that, just trying to get trying to get your energy up, or sometimes if depending on what track you are, you need to sometimes slow it down a little bit or whatever. And the fact that they can change